We're installing a GPS unit in a 2019 Nissan NV, I believe. Yes, whole line of them. All right. So, first thing we're going to do is get a little harness prep action going. Basically, I'm installing 4 Verizon Connect here. But a lot of these GPS units are about the same hardware, so plug that guy in. Give it a little tape wrap around these purple wires. We're not going to use them since this doesn't have any extra monitoring going on. So they're not dangling loosely around, just like so. Next we're going to prep the actual fuse holders. To do that, simply just wrap a loop of tape around them first. And grab a zip tie. A little longer than I need, but nice and thick though. And get a little snip. And that's pretty much to keep people from getting in there without us knowing it. And to ensure that no fuses just fall out or whatever. Next we're going to strip back the wires. Now the ground we just need to strip back a little bit because we're going to be putting a ground eyelet on it. The constant, which is red, and the ignition, which is white, you're going to want to strip it back about 2 inches. We're going to be using a method called the hook and loop or poke and wrap or whatever you want to call it. So you're just twisting these wires together nicely, just like so. Boom. All right. Next up, we're going to grab an eyelet and a screw out of your box of connectors, or just wherever. All right. Eyelet on the ground wire. Use some crimps. You can buy crimps for $5 or $10 at Harbor Freight. You see that? Tried to pull, fell right off. So, it's always what you want to do. Just give it a tug after you're done to make sure that it is crimped nice and tight. Because I'd rather it fall on or fail on me than fail on the customer. So, try this again here. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it around and really get in there. All right. Now I can tug it as hard as I want. It doesn't go anywhere. That's what we want. All right. So now we are prepped. Next up, we're gonna take this steering column off. That's pretty easy. You got 2 screws on it, and one there. The screw doesn't want to come out. We just grab a little pick. There you go. You got one on the other side. Just get it out of there. There we go. All right. Now I gotta turn the key off. I'm gonna peel this little piece off next to the key. Let's give it a little tug. And it's gonna come off. Boom. Whole cluster's off now. All right. And that's gonna get you right to the ignition wires, which is what we'll be hooking up to. The only other panel we're gonna peel off is this guy right here. Again, I always gonna use a plastic pry tool so you don't damage anything. Just get it in there. Right in the corner. Peel that off. That's where we're going to ground the unit, and that's where we're going to mount the unit, right there. So, first of all, as far as grounding goes, screw in the eyelet, self-tapping, bit. Just literally ground it right there. And there we go. That is nice and grounded. And this is going to be the permanent place. I'm just going to stick this up on the dash for now. I'm going to loop these in the dash. Just grab it right here, have it come out right where your ignition wires are. Okay. I'm going to move this down here so you can actually see what I'm doing now. See the best place to this place is to set this phone at so you can see the action. I think that probably is good. Okay. All right. So let me get all my stuff ready down here so I'm not disturbing the camera. All right. So now normally you're gonna just cut right into this. Nice sharp blade. Always good to have the vehicle off when you do this, but it doesn't really matter. Worst case scenario, you're gonna blow a fuse. That's what fuses are for. Prevent things from malfunctioning. All right, so you split the wires open, and next you're going to test the wires and make sure you're on the right ones. And you want to be able to get to them pretty well, so you know, as long as you can, hopefully you can see that stuff. Yeah. All right, so use multimeter. It's just a, you know, $20 multimeter, no big deal. You know, get grounded somewhere, literally any metal is fine. And then poke it in. Let's go red one. And turn the ignition on. And looky there, there's our ignition. And we're gonna start it and make sure it doesn't drop below 9 volts to make sure it's a true ignition. So red's our ignition, and I already know this, but blue is our constant, okay? So it's 12 volt with no wires attached. All right, so we got red and blue. All right, next up is hook and loop. So, make sure should be still golden on the viewing angle. All right. So first you're gonna hook up constant, which is your blue wire. And just barely spreading it and poking a hole in it, like so. And you're gonna take the constant wire, the red one, put it through your hole, and then we're going to wrap it at least 2 times around, 1, 2, almost 2.5, and then you're gonna fold the wire down past the wraps. And now you can tug on the wire all you want, it's going nowhere, okay? And that's really the connection you're trying to make. So it's a wire-to-wire connection, which is the best you can get. And it's nice and tight without even putting any stuff on it. And now we're going to wrap it in tape. And you want to get at least 3 wraps around it, tape-wise. 4 or 5 is ideal. And you're going to put a zip tie on the tape itself. And depending on the company, some of them require a second one just for safe measures. But obviously you saw a minute ago, wires going nowhere without tape or zip ties. So, all right. Plus it just kind of makes it look prettier, whatever. Oops. All right, so I'm gonna snip those guys off, and we have our constant wire on there. Next up is ignition. Take the red one, do the exact same thing. Spread your hole. That's what she said. All right, put your wire through. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain. It's fine. If you don't get them all through, again, it's fine. If 80% of the wires make it through, it's still not going anywhere. See, tug, tug, tug. All right. Same story. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 wraps. Zip tie over the wire and wire part, and a second zip tie just past that. Again, more just to make it look tidy, but all right. And there we go. The last thing I tried to do was possible secure the fuse holder a little bit. In this case, I'm gonna zip tie it right to this cable coming out of the column. And this is just to keep it from dangling around in there, but not necessary. Okay, so there we go. Now on your box itself, you should see, which you probably can't see it in the video, but I promise it's there. We got an orange light that's blinking slowly and a green light that's blinking slightly faster. And then when we turn the ignition on, that orange light should go solid, saying that it's seeing the ignition, and it does. Now if it starts rapidly flashing when you turn the key on, it's just updating the modem. It should stop after a minute or two. Not a big deal, but in this case it does not need an update, and it is flashing solid, so we are good. Next thing you're going to do is mount your unit, or at least pretty much get it ready to mount. In this case, on this vehicle, I'm going to literally mount it right here inside this hole where we're already working. Nice and convenient. Make this nice and tidy. I'll move this guy back up here for just a second so you can kind of see what I'm doing. All right. I tend to fold it all over like that, again, to just make it as tidy as possible. And it's nicer if you can see the lights and the connection from the hole, so if you want to mount it like this, it's just better for service reasons, but you can mount it however you want. The key is don't mount it with any metal directly above it. So you can pull this fuse panel out and get from the underneath a little easier. So I'm just going to stick this in there. Kind of mount it right on this crossbar right there. Big old nice 11-inch zip tie, big enough to reach around. Oftentimes you are zip tying with no eyesight, just doing it by feel alone. That's quite all right. All right, so now this is mounted to that bracket, nice and tidy. The last thing we have to do is put a little tamper seal on it. So, okay, so we're gonna do this stuff. Take the lid off there. Okay, so tamper seal a little bit of the ground wire. Tamper seal just on the corner of the connection there. And then that, and a little on the fuse connectors. And why we do this is because if you come back and can't figure out why it's now working even though you were there for a service, there's a good chance that someone had pulled the ground or unplugged the unit or done something because they wanted to take an extra long lunch. So that stuff's just there to let us know if someone's been into it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And we gotta put it back together, which it's a little tricky, so I'll show you how to finagle everything back together. But I generally start with the cluster. That big piece is going towards the back. And it literally just kind of presses in. You can line up the top and the bottom. And you just gotta put a little pressure on it to make it snap. There we go. Back together, nice and snapped. I'm gonna put the ignition ring back on. This bigger piece is always gonna kind of face towards you, so like this. it won't go any other way, so you can just turn it until it fits if you want. And then finally turn the ignition on. Easier if you start the vehicle up. Check and make sure you don't have any new lights on the dash. You didn't screw anything up. In this case we didn't, hooray. And now you're gonna put these screws back in. And you don't want to over tighten, obviously, just get them in there kind of snug. All right. And then last piece, just popping this piece back on. And we're done.